Understanding Recall Healing Through the Royals, Part 2, Cycle of Autonomy and Timelines. The cycle of autonomy is the age, the year, and the month a person becomes independent of their parents. Independence is defined by not needing your parents for food, shelter, and money for survival. As an example, let's say someone becomes independent from their parents 1 month after their 20th birthday. That person then lives 5 months past their 100th birthday. That makes their cycle of autonomy 20 years in 1 month because that's the age that they moved out, and they lived 5 full cycles. To calculate the next cycle, take the year and month of a person's cycle of autonomy and add that number. For instance, cycle 1 for this in the last example ends at 20 years and 1 month. So cycle 2 ends at 40 months, 40 years and 2 months. Cycle 3 ends at 60 years and 3 months. Cycle 4 ends at 80 years and 4 months. And cycle 5 ends at 100 years and 5 months. Once a timeline is created, key anniversaries, mainly traumatic, are recorded. The focus on traumatic events is not to be negative, but to point out what is repeating in your life and when. This creates awareness, and the person can work on clearing out the negative with their recall healing facilitator. I personally reached this milestone in 18 years and 2 months when I went to college on a full academic scholarship. Every 18 years and 2 months, I unconsciously replayed an anniversary, the good, bad, and ugly, until I became aware of this program. At 18 years and 2 months, I went to college in the state of Indiana, a state known as the crossroads of America. The 18 months leading up to my move were okay for the most part. It had its ups and downs, but overall, I was happy and downright excited. Exactly 18 years and 2 months later, I became a new mom for the third time in 4 years. I was on maternity leave and I was at a figurative crossroads in my life. I was in the process of moving away from my corporate job to an unknown career path. Just like the first cycle of my life, the 18 months leading to the end of my second cycle at 36 years and 4 months had its ups and downs. But in general, it was okay, and I was low key excited to move into something new. Both cycle endings involved a move of some sort, and crossroads was also a repetitive theme. To explore this topic even further, let's circle back to Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria's cycle of autonomy is 18 years and 1 month. 18 years and 1 month is when she ascended the throne. So every 18 years and 1 month, her cycle repeated until her death in 1901. Cycle 1 ended at 18 years and 1 month. Cycle 2 for Queen Victoria ended at 36 years and 2 months. Cycle 3 concluded at 54 years and 3 months. Cycle 4 ended at 72 years and 4 months. And her fifth cycle did not fully complete as she died at the age of 81. 18 months prior to her ascension, she became very ill with fever while on tour in the town of Ramsgate. 1 year following her independence, she had her coronation to officially become the Queen of the British Empire. This mirrors her first 30 months of life, as there was a key death of a family member, illness, and her legitimization in church. When it comes to anniversaries, at the age of 16, Victoria was very ill with fever while touring at the town of Ramsgate. Exactly 18 years later, she gave birth to Leopold, who was a very sick child, the first descendant to show signs of hemophilia. 18 years after the birth of Leopold, Victoria's heir apparent, Edward VII, nearly died from typhoid fever, the same illness that his father died of. In this particular instance, illness was a repetitive program repeated every 18 years, as Queen Victoria's children carried her unfinished business of being sick. Another anniversary involves the life and death of key family members. In 1843, Queen Victoria's third child, Princess Alice, was born. 18 years later, both Victoria's mother and her husband died. 17 years after their death, Princess Alice died. It's important to note that Alice's death is not an exact 18-year difference. However, the death dates of Albert, her father, and Alice, the third child, are the same. Albert died December 14th, 1861, of typhoid fever, and Alice died December 14th, 1878, of diphtheria, exactly 17 years apart. Queen Victoria herself remarked how the anniversaries of their death was almost incredible and mysterious. End quote. In addition to inheriting what her parents were going through the first 30 months of her life, Alice also inherited even more of her parents' unfinished business as she shared the same birth order number, 3, as her parents. Queen Victoria was the third-born child of her mother's children, and Albert was the third-born child of his father's children, if you include his father's firstborn child from a previous relationship. On a more positive note, Victoria's proposal to Albert, the birth of her ninth and final child, and Victoria's crowning as Empress of India are in link with one another as those events were 18 years apart from each other. To hear more about Queen Victoria's cycle of autonomy, timeline, and anniversaries, listen to my podcast, the Intuitive Empath Podcast, with Dr. Michelle Lamasta Schrader.